the moment Felicity Ford agreed to pretend to be a billionaire's girlfriend for one night. She thought it would be the easiest $5,000 she had ever made. But she had no idea that walking into that glittering ballroom on Warren Oakes's arm would change every single thing about her carefully planned life. She stood in front of her bathroom mirror, applying mascara with shaking hands, wondering how she had gotten herself into this situation. 3 days ago, she had been serving coffee at the upscale cafe where she worked part-time while building her interior design business. Warren Oakes had walked in, tall and commanding in an expensive suit, with dark hair that looked professionally styled and eyes so blue they seemed almost unreal. He had ordered a simple black coffee and sat in the corner, working on his laptop like dozens of other customers did every day. Felicity had thought nothing of it until he approached the counter again 2 hours later, asking if they could speak privately. Her first instinct had been to say no, but something about his direct gaze and the genuine urgency in his voice made her pause. They had stepped outside, and he had explained his situation with the kind of blunt honesty that took her completely by surprise. Warren needed a date for a charity gala. His ex-girlfriend had been spreading rumors that he was still pining after her, unable to move on, and it was affecting his business relationships. People saw him as distracted, emotionally compromised. He needed to show up with someone on his arm, someone who could play the part convincingly, and he was willing to pay generously for the service. Felicity had almost laughed in his face. She had seen this plot in a dozen romantic comedies, and it never ended well for anyone involved. But then he had named the price, and she had thought about the overdue invoices sitting on her desk. The client she had lost last month because she could not afford the software needed to create proper renderings, the student loans that haunted her every single month. $5,000 for one night of pretending. It seemed insane, but also like an answer to prayers she had been too proud to speak out loud. Now, standing in her small apartment bathroom, wearing a dress she had borrowed from her best friend Sophie, Felicity wondered if she was making the biggest mistake of her life. The dress was stunning, a deep emerald green that brought out the gold flecks in her hazel eyes, fitted perfectly to her curves before flowing down to her ankles. Sophie had also lent her a pair of heels that made her legs look endless, and a clutch that probably cost more than Felicity's monthly rent. The knock on her door came at exactly 7 o'clock. Warren was nothing if not punctual. Felicity took one last deep breath, grabbed the clutch, and walked to the door on legs that felt steadier than she expected. When she opened the door, Warren stood there in a tuxedo that must have been custom-made because nobody looked that good in off-the-rack formal wear. His eyes widened slightly when he saw her, and for a moment neither of them spoke. "You look incredible," he said finally, and there was something in his voice that made her skin warm. "You clean up pretty well yourself," she replied, forcing herself to sound casual and confident. This was a business arrangement, nothing more. She needed to remember that. The car waiting downstairs was exactly what she expected. Sleek, black, and worth more than she would probably make in 5 years. A driver held the door open and she slid into the leather interior, hyper-aware of Warren settling in beside her. "So," she said as they pulled into traffic, "tell me what I need to know. How did we meet? How long have we been dating? What are the things I should know about you that a girlfriend would know?" Warren turned to face her, and she noticed the slight tension in his jaw. "We met at an art gallery opening 6 weeks ago. You were there for work, scouting pieces for a client's home. I approached you because I overheard you explaining to your client why a particular painting would not work in their space, and your reasoning was brilliant. We started talking, discovered we had similar tastes, and I asked you out for coffee the next day." "That's very specific," Felicity said, impressed despite herself. "I find that the best lies are the ones closest to the truth," Warren said. "You are an interior designer. You do have an eye for art. If anyone asks you detailed questions, you can answer them honestly about your work. The only lie is that we are dating." "And what should I know about you?" she asked. "Besides the fact that you are apparently rich enough to pay strangers $5,000 to attend parties with you." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Warren Oakes, 32 years old, CEO of Oakes Industries. "We manufacture sustainable building materials. Started the company 7 years ago with money I made from selling a software startup. I have one sister, Clara, who you will probably meet tonight. She is relentless and will definitely try to intimidate you. Do not let her." "Comforting," Felicity muttered. "My parents will be there too. My mother will love you because you are not my ex-girlfriend. My father will ignore you because he ignores everyone who is not discussing business or golf. I drink whiskey neat. I run every morning at 6. I hate mushrooms and people who are late. I have a penthouse downtown and a house in the Hamptons that I never use because I am always working." Felicity absorbed all of this, filing it away. "What about your ex? What do I need to know about her?" Warren's expression hardened. "Vanessa. We dated for 8 months, broke up 4 months ago. She wanted me to fund her lifestyle brand. I said no. She accused me of not supporting her dreams. The breakup was messy. She has been telling people I am still in love with her, that I call her late at night, that I am unable to let go. None of it is true, but the rumors are affecting my business. People think I am distracted, unfocused. So you need me to be the proof that you have moved on," Felicity said slowly. "Exactly." The car pulled up to a massive hotel, the kind with marble columns and a red carpet leading to the entrance. Cameras flashed as other guests arrived, and Felicity felt her stomach clench with nerves. "Ready?" Warren asked, and there was something almost gentle in his voice. "As I will ever be," she replied. He got out first, then extended his hand to help her from the car. The moment her heels touched the red carpet, she transformed. She had always been good at this, at slipping into roles, at being whoever people needed her to be. It was a skill she had learned growing up in foster care, moving from home to home, always adapting, always performing. She smiled up at Warren like he was the only person in the world, and his arms slipped around her waist, pulling her close. They walked into the hotel together, and Felicity tried not to gape at the opulence surrounding them. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings painted with elaborate frescoes. Waiters in white jackets circulated with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres that looked too beautiful to eat. "Warren." A woman's voice cut through the ambient chatter, sharp and assessing. "I heard you might actually show up with a date. I had to see it to believe it." The woman approaching them was beautiful in that calculated way some women achieved through expensive maintenance. Blonde hair swept up in an intricate updo, a dress that probably cost as much as a used car, and eyes that assessed Felicity like she was a bug under a microscope. "Clara," Warren said, and Felicity heard the affection beneath the exasperation in his voice. "This is Felicity Ford." "Felicity, my sister Clara." "Interior designer," Clara said, and it was not a question. "Warren mentioned you. He said you have exquisite taste, which is high praise coming from my brother." "He has excellent taste himself," Felicity replied smoothly, keeping her voice warm but not overeager. "His office is one of the most thoughtfully designed spaces I have seen in the city." Clara's eyebrows rose slightly. "You have been to his office? That is practically a marriage proposal in Warren's world. He never lets anyone into his space." Warren's hand tightened almost imperceptibly on Felicity's waist. Felicity is not just anyone. The way he said it made something flutter in Felicity's chest, which was ridiculous because this was all pretend. She reminded herself of the $5,000 waiting for her and pasted on her most genuine smile. "Well," Clara said after a moment, "at least you are not Vanessa. That alone makes you a significant improvement." "Clara," Warren warned. "What? I am being nice." Clara's smile was sharp. "Come find me later, Felicity. I want to hear all about how my workaholic brother managed to charm someone as lovely as you." She swept away in a cloud of expensive perfume, and Felicity let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. "That went well," Warren said dryly. "Does she always grill your dates like that?" "She has never met any of my dates before you," Warren admitted. "I do not usually bring people to family events. Not even Vanessa, especially not Vanessa." He guided her toward the ballroom, his hand still warm against her waist. "She would have made everything about herself. You handled Clara perfectly, by the way. Most people are either terrified of her or try too hard to impress her. You just talk to her like a normal person." "She is a normal person," Felicity said. "An intimidating one, but still normal." Warren looked at her with something that might have been surprise, but before he could respond, another voice called his name. The next hour passed in a blur of introductions and small talk. Felicity met more wealthy people than she had encountered in her entire life, and she played her part flawlessly. She laughed at the right moments, asked intelligent questions, and touched Warren's arm with the casual affection of someone who had done it 100 times before. What surprised her was how easy it felt. Warren was attentive without being overbearing, including her in conversations, his hand finding the small of her back or her elbow with a naturalness that should not have been possible given they barely knew each other. He laughed at her jokes, and when she made a comment about the architectural details of the ballroom, he looked at her with genuine interest. "You really love what you do," he said during a quiet moment when they stepped away from the crowd to get drinks. "I do," she admitted. "There is something about taking a space and making it feel like home, like it belongs to the person living in it. Every room tells a story, and I get to help write it." "That is how I feel about my work," Warren said. "Everyone thinks construction materials are boring, but we are literally building the future. Every sustainable product we create is one less burden on the environment, one step toward leaving the world better than we found it." Felicity found herself genuinely interested, asking questions that had nothing to do with their arrangement and everything to do with wanting to understand what made this complicated, serious man light up when he talked about recycled steel and low-emission concrete. "Warren Oakes," actually smiling, a snide voice interrupted. "I never thought I would see the day." Felicity turned to see a woman in a red dress that left very little to the imagination, dark hair cascading over her shoulders, her lips curved in a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Vanessa," Warren said, and his entire body went rigid. "And this must be the new girlfriend I have been hearing about all evening," Vanessa said, her gaze raking over Felicity with undisguised contempt. "How sweet." "Warren, did you hire her from the same agency you hired that assistant who quit after 3 months because you were impossible to work with?" "Vanessa, we have nothing to discuss," Warren said coldly. "Enjoy your evening." "I am just trying to save this poor girl from heartbreak," Vanessa said, her voice dripping with false concern. "Warren does not do relationships. He does not do feelings. He is married to his work, and trust me, sweetie, you will always come second to whatever deal he is closing or factory he is opening." Felicity felt anger rise in her chest, hot and protective. It caught her off guard because this was all pretend, but something about the cruel satisfaction in Vanessa's eyes made her want to defend Warren with everything she had. "That is interesting," Felicity said, her voice steady and clear. "Because the man I know makes time for what matters to him. He showed up at my studio last week just to bring me coffee when I was working late. He listens when I talk about my day. He remembers the small things, like how I hate cilantro and love old movies. If he did not make time for you, maybe it was not about his work. Maybe it was about you." The ballroom seemed to go quiet around them, or maybe that was just Felicity's imagination. Vanessa's face flushed with anger, and Warren's hand found Felicity's, his fingers threading through hers with a squeeze that felt like gratitude. "You do not know anything about our relationship," Vanessa hissed. "You are right," Felicity said calmly. "And I do not need to. I know about mine, and that is enough." Vanessa opened her mouth to respond, but Clara appeared at their side, her smile bright and dangerous. "Vanessa, how lovely to see you. Are you here with anyone, or are you still trying to convince people that Warren is pining away for you? Because I have to say, the evidence suggests otherwise." Vanessa shot them all a furious look before turning on her heel and stalking away. Clara watched her go with satisfaction. "I like you," Clara said to Felicity. "You can stay." Warren let out a breath that sounded like relief. "Thank you," he said quietly, looking at Felicity. "You did not have to do that." "Yes, I did," she replied, surprised to find she meant it. "Nobody gets to talk to you like that." Something shifted in Warren's eyes, something warm and real that made Felicity's heart beat faster. This was dangerous territory, she realized. She was supposed to be playing a part, not developing actual feelings for the man paying her to be here. The rest of the evening passed more smoothly. They danced, Warren's hand firm on her waist as he guided her around the floor with the confidence of someone who had taken lessons. They bid on items in the silent auction, and when Felicity expressed genuine admiration for a painting by a local artist, Warren bid on it and won, then told her it was hers. "I cannot accept that," she protested. "It cost $4,000. Consider it a bonus," he said. "For putting up with Vanessa. You are already paying me $5,000 for tonight. Then consider it a gift from someone who appreciates your taste in art." His voice was soft, and when she looked up at him, she saw something in his expression that made her breath catch. By the time the car dropped her off at her apartment building at midnight, Felicity felt like she had lived an entire lifetime in one evening. Warren walked her to her door, even though the driver was waiting. "Thank you," he said, "for everything. You were perfect." "It was not as hard as I thought it would be," she admitted, and then realized how that sounded. "I mean, you made it easy. You are not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I do not know. Someone more arrogant, I guess, more entitled." "But you are kind and you actually care about people and you listen when they talk. Those are rare qualities." Warren stepped closer, and for one heart-stopping moment, Felicity thought he might kiss her. Part of her wanted him to. But he just brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch gentle. "Can I see you again?" he asked. Not as a business arrangement, just as Warren and Felicity. She should say no. She should take her $5,000 and walk away before this became complicated. But when she looked into his eyes, she found herself nodding. "I would like that," she whispered. His smile was slow and genuine, transforming his entire face. "Good, I will call you tomorrow." He waited until she was inside before leaving, and Felicity leaned against her closed door, her heart racing. What had she just agreed to? The next morning, she woke to a text from Warren asking if she was free for coffee that afternoon. She said yes, even though she had client meetings to prepare for, even though every logical part of her brain was screaming that this was a terrible idea. They met at a small cafe, nothing like the upscale place where she worked. It was cozy and quiet, with mismatched chairs and local art on the walls. Warren showed up in jeans and a sweater, looking more relaxed than she had ever seen him. "I wanted to take you somewhere we could actually talk," he explained. "Not somewhere we would be performing for an audience." They talked for 3 hours. Felicity told him about growing up in foster care, about the social worker who had encouraged her love of design, about fighting her way through community college, and then a 4-year university, always working 2 jobs, always proving she deserved to be there. Warren told her about the pressure of living up to his father's expectations, about building his first company from nothing, and the terror of risking everything on sustainable materials when everyone said it would never be profitable. "But you made it work," Felicity said. "I got lucky," Warren replied. "Right place, right time, right idea, but mostly I refused to quit even when everyone told me I should." "That is not luck," she said firmly. "That is courage." He looked at her like she had said something profound, and she felt that flutter in her chest again, stronger this time. They started seeing each other regularly after that. Coffee dates turned into dinners, which turned into long walks through the city, talking about everything and nothing. Warren showed her his factory, explaining the intricacies of sustainable manufacturing with an enthusiasm that made her fall a little more with each word. She brought him to estate sales and antique shops, teaching him to see the potential in forgotten pieces, the stories hidden in old furniture. 3 weeks after the gala, Warren invited her to his penthouse for dinner. He cooked, which surprised her until she tasted his pasta and realized he was genuinely talented in the kitchen. "My mother insisted all her children learn to cook," he explained. "She said it was a basic life skill like doing laundry or managing money." "Smart woman," Felicity said, savoring another bite. After dinner, they sat on his balcony, looking out at the city lights, drinking wine and talking. Warren had his arm around her shoulders, and she was tucked against his side, feeling safe and content in a way she had not felt in years. "Felicity," he said quietly, "I need to tell you something." Her heart clenched. This was it, the moment he told her this was not working, that they were too different, that he had made a mistake. "That first day at the cafe," he continued, "when I asked you to come to the gala with me, it was not random." She pulled back to look at him. "What do you mean?" "I had been coming to that cafe for 2 weeks, watching you work. You were always so kind to everyone, patient with the difficult customers, laughing with the regulars. You had this light about you, this genuine warmth. I wanted to talk to you, but I could not figure out how." And then Clara mentioned she had heard Vanessa was going to be at the gala, spreading more rumors, and I thought maybe it was a sign. "You made up the fake dating scheme to meet me?" Felicity asked slowly. "No, I really did need a date to shut down the rumors, but I could have asked anyone. I asked you because I wanted an excuse to spend time with you, to see if you were as amazing as you seemed." He ran a hand through his hair, looking nervous in a way she had never seen him. "I know that is probably creepy and manipulative, and if you want to leave, I understand. But I could not keep seeing you without you knowing the truth." Felicity processed this, turning it over in her mind. She should be angry, should feel used, but instead, all she felt was a strange kind of relief. "So this whole time, it was never really fake for you?" she asked. "No," he said simply. "From the moment you opened your apartment door in that green dress, it was real. Maybe even before that." She kissed him. It was the only response that made sense, the only way to show him that she understood, that she felt the same way. His arms came around her, pulling her close, and the kiss deepened into something that felt like coming home. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Warren rested his forehead against hers. "I am falling in love with you, Felicity Ford. I know it is fast, and I know we come from different worlds, but I cannot pretend anymore that this is casual for me. Good, she whispered, because I am falling in love with you too, and I was terrified you were going to tell me this was just a fun diversion. He laughed, and the sound was full of relief and joy. They stayed on the balcony until the early hours of the morning, talking and kissing and making promises neither of them was sure they could keep, but were willing to try anyway. The next few months were a blur of happiness. Felicity's business began to take off, partly because of her own talent and hard work, but also because Warren introduced her to people who needed her services. She was careful to maintain her independence, to prove she could succeed on her own merits, but she appreciated his support and the way he celebrated every one of her victories like it was his own. Warren became softer, more open. Clara told Felicity she had never seen her brother so happy, so relaxed. His employees commented on how he smiled more, how he was less demanding and more understanding. Felicity saw the man beneath the CEO facade, the one who worried about making a difference, who donated anonymously to charities, who remembered the names of his factory workers' children. But it was not all perfect. They fought, sometimes spectacularly, usually about the same things. Felicity felt like Warren tried to solve all her problems with money, and Warren felt like Felicity was too proud to accept help when she needed it. They were both stubborn, both used to handling everything alone, both learning how to be part of a team. Their biggest fight happened 6 months into their relationship. Felicity had been trying to land a major contract with a hotel chain, something that could establish her reputation and financial security for years to come. She had been working on the proposal for months, perfecting every detail. When she lost the contract to a more established firm, she was devastated. Warren, trying to help, called the CEO of the hotel chain. He did not try to change their decision, but he did recommend Felicity for another project. When Felicity found out, she was furious. "I do not need you to fight my battles," she shouted in his penthouse, pacing like a caged animal. "I do not need you to make phone calls on my behalf. I need to do this myself, Warren. I need to know I earned it." "You did earn it," he shot back. "All I did was make sure they knew who you were." "What is wrong with using connections? Everyone does it." "You do not understand," she said, her voice breaking. "You have never had to prove yourself the way I have. You have never had people look at you and assume you do not belong, that you only got where you are because someone felt sorry for you. I spent my entire childhood being a charity case, Warren. I will not spend my adult life being one too." The pain in her voice stopped him cold. He crossed the room and pulled her into his arms, even though she resisted at first. "You are not a charity case," he said fiercely. "You are the most talented, hardworking person I know, and I am sorry. I was not trying to diminish your accomplishments. I was just trying to help because I hate seeing you hurt, but I understand now. I will not interfere again unless you ask me to." She clung to him, letting the tears fall. "I am sorry too. I know you were just trying to help. I am just scared that people will think I am only successful because I am dating you." "Then we make sure they know the truth," he said. "We make sure your work speaks for itself. And Felicity, it does. Your work is incredible. You do not need me or anyone else to make you successful. You just need time." They worked through it, learning each other's boundaries, figuring out how to support without smothering, how to be independent while still being partners. It was messy and hard, but it was real, and that made it worth fighting for. 8 months after the gala, Warren invited Felicity to his house in the Hamptons for a long weekend. She had never been there, even though he had mentioned it several times. When they arrived, she understood why he never used it. "It is beautiful," she said, looking at the sprawling modern structure with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. "But it does not feel like you at all." My mother decorated it, Warren admitted. She has excellent taste, but it is her taste, not mine. I always meant to change it, but I never cared enough to bother. Felicity walked through the rooms, seeing the potential beneath the sterile perfection. Let me redesign it, she said suddenly. Not as your girlfriend asking for work, as a designer who sees what this place could be. Let me make it feel like home. Warren looked at the house, then at her, and something shifted in his expression. I have a better idea, make it feel like our home, she froze. Warren, what are you saying? He took her hands, his blue eyes serious and full of love. I am saying that this house has never been home because you were not in it. I am saying that my penthouse only feels right when you are there. I am saying that I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep beside you every night. Move in with me, Felicity. Make a home with me, here or in the city or both. I do not care where we are as long as we are together. You are serious, she whispered. I have never been more serious about anything in my life. He smiled, and it was full of hope and vulnerability. I love you. I want to build a life with you. Say yes. She did, laughing and crying at the same time, and they sealed it with a kiss on the deck overlooking the ocean, the sun setting in brilliant shades of orange and pink. Moving in together was an adjustment. Felicity kept her apartment for her studio, needing a space that was just hers for work, but she moved her personal belongings into Warren's penthouse. They compromised on decorating, blending his minimalist aesthetic with her love of color and texture. She taught him that a home should have personality, things that mattered, pieces with stories. He taught her that sometimes less really was more, that clean lines and open spaces could be as welcoming as cozy clutter. Their first Christmas together, Warren surprised her by flying in the social worker who had changed her life, the woman who had encouraged Felicity's love of design and helped her apply for scholarships. Felicity sobbed when she saw Mrs. Patterson standing in their living room, and the three of them spent the evening looking at photos of all the spaces Felicity had designed, Mrs. Patterson crying with pride. You did this, Felicity said to Warren later, after Mrs. Patterson had left. You tracked her down and flew her across the country. You always talk about her like she was the one person who believed in you, Warren said. I wanted her to see what you became, how her belief paid off, and I wanted to thank her for helping create the woman I love. Felicity kissed him, pouring everything she felt into it, all the love and gratitude and wonder that this man, this complicated and caring man, was hers. They had been living together for 4 months when Warren's father had a heart attack. It was not severe, but it was a wake-up call. Warren spent 2 weeks practically living at the hospital, and Felicity was there with him, bringing him food, making sure he slept, talking to doctors when he was too exhausted to process information. You do not have to do this, Warren said one night in the hospital waiting room. This is not your responsibility. Yes, it is, she replied firmly. You are my responsibility. Your family is my responsibility. That is what love means, Warren. Showing up even when it is hard, especially when it is hard. When his father was finally released, the older man pulled Felicity aside. They had never been close. He had always been polite but distant, clearly unsure what to make of his son's relationship with a woman from such a different background. Thank you, Mr. Oakes said gruffly. For taking care of my son, for being there when we needed you. I love him, Felicity said simply. It is not hard to show up for someone you love. He is lucky to have you, Mr. Oakes said. We are lucky to have you. It felt like acceptance, and Felicity treasured it. A year after they moved in together, Warren started acting strange. He was distracted during conversations, secretive about his phone calls and making excuses to work late. Felicity tried not to jump to conclusions, tried to trust what they had built, but old insecurities crept in. She had never really believed she could keep someone like Warren, someone so far out of her league, someone who could have anyone he wanted. She confided in Clara over lunch, hating the vulnerability in her voice. Clara looked at her with something like amusement. "Felicity, my brother is not cheating on you," Clara said firmly. "He is obsessed with you. He talks about you constantly. His phone background is a picture of you. He literally has a reminder set on his calendar to bring you flowers every Friday because you mentioned once that you love fresh flowers in the apartment." "Then, why is he being so weird?" Felicity asked. Clara's smile turned knowing. "Maybe he is planning something and wants it to be a surprise. Maybe you should trust him and stop spiraling." But the strange behavior continued, and Felicity's anxiety grew. Finally, 2 weeks later, Warren told her to dress up because they were going out somewhere special. She put on a blue dress he had once said was his favorite, and they drove out of the city, heading toward the Hamptons. "We are going to the house?" she asked, confused. She had redesigned it over the past year, and it was beautiful now, a perfect blend of modern elegance and coastal comfort. They spent most weekends there during the summer. "Not exactly," Warren said cryptically. He drove past the house, down to the private beach. Felicity gasped when she saw what he had done. The beach was lit with hundreds of candles, their flames protected by glass covers, creating a pathway down to the water's edge. Rose petals scattered across the sand. A small table was set up with champagne and dinner waiting under the stars. "Warren, what is this?" she asked, her voice trembling. He helped her out of the car, then took both her hands in his. "This is me telling you that every day with you is the best day of my life. This is me saying that the moment you walked into that gala, you changed everything. You taught me what home feels like, what it means to be part of something bigger than myself. You made me believe in love, real love, the kind that makes you brave and terrified at the same time." He dropped to one knee, and Felicity's hand flew to her mouth, tears already streaming down her face. "Felicity Ford, you are my home, my heart, my everything. Will you marry me?" The ring was perfect, a simple diamond that caught the candlelight, elegant and understated, exactly her style. She could barely see it through her tears. "Yes," she sobbed. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." He slid the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that felt like a promise, like a beginning. When they finally broke apart, she laughed through her tears. "This is why you have been acting so strange," she said. "I thought you were cheating on me." "You what?" Warren looked horrified. "Felicity, I would never, I know," she said quickly. "Clara talked me down, but you have to admit you were being weird." "I was trying to plan the perfect proposal," he said. "I wanted everything to be right. I had to coordinate with the caterers, the florists, make sure the weather would cooperate. I have been a nervous wreck for weeks." She cupped his face in her hands. "You could have proposed with a ring pop in our apartment, and it would have been perfect because it was you." "Well, we are here now," he said. "And I ordered your favorite dinner, and we have champagne, and the stars are out, so let us enjoy it." They ate on the beach, talking about the future, about wedding plans and children and the life they would build together. Warren confessed he had already asked Mrs. Patterson for her blessing, wanting to honor the woman who had been like a mother to Felicity. She told him about the designs she had been sketching for their wedding, unable to help herself from planning even though she had not known a proposal was coming. "How long have you been thinking about this?" Warren asked. "Since about our third date," she admitted. "I tried to tell myself it was too soon, that I was being ridiculous, but I just knew. You were it for me." "I knew the night of the gala," Warren said. "When you defended me to Vanessa, when you spoke with such conviction about a relationship you were being paid to fake. I thought, This woman, this incredible woman, she is going to ruin me for everyone else. And I was right. They made love in the house later that night. In the master bedroom, she had redesigned with soft blues and whites, and it felt different, deeper, like they were sealing a promise that went beyond words. The wedding planning was surprisingly smooth. Felicity had strong opinions about design, so she knew exactly what she wanted. Warren was happy to let her take the lead, only insisting on two things: that his family be included and that they hire the best photographer they could find, because he wanted to remember every moment. They got married 9 months later, on the same beach where Warren had proposed. It was a small ceremony, just close family and friends. Clara was Felicity's maid of honor, having become one of her closest friends over the past 2 years. Sophie, her best friend who had lent her the dress for the fake date that started it all, was a bridesmaid. Warren's best man was his business partner and college roommate, Marcus, who gave a speech about how Warren had been insufferable before he met Felicity, and was now only occasionally unbearable. Mrs. Patterson sat in the front row, crying happy tears. Warren's father, fully recovered from his heart attack, walked Felicity down the aisle since she had no family of her own to do it. It was his idea, and the gesture meant more to her than she could express. The ceremony was short and sweet. They had written their own vows, and Felicity barely made it through hers without sobbing. Warren cried too, openly and unashamed, when he promised to love her, to challenge her, to be her partner in all things for the rest of their lives. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Warren kissed her like they were the only two people in the world, and the small crowd erupted in applause. They walked back down the aisle together, hand in hand, and Felicity felt like she was floating. The reception was in their house, which she had decorated with flowers and candles, creating a warm and intimate atmosphere. They danced their first dance to a song about coming home, and Warren whispered in her ear that she was his home, his always, his forever. Later, when the guests had left and they were alone, they stood on the deck looking at the ocean. Felicity was still in her wedding dress, and Warren had taken off his jacket and tie, his shirt unbuttoned at the collar. "Mrs. Oakes," he said, testing out the name. "I am keeping Ford professionally," she reminded him with a smile. "But yes, Mrs. Oakes in every other way." "I cannot believe I get to spend the rest of my life with you," Warren said. "Some days I still feel like I am going to wake up and this will all have been a dream." "If it is a dream, then we are both having it," Felicity replied. "And I never want to wake up." They spent their honeymoon in Italy, 2 weeks of exploring ancient cities, eating incredible food, and making love in beautiful hotels. Warren had wanted to take her to his favorite places, and Felicity fell in love with the art and architecture, filling sketchbooks with ideas for future projects. When they returned home, they fell into a comfortable rhythm. Felicity's business continued to grow, and she hired 2 assistants to help manage the increasing workload. Warren expanded his company into international markets, but he made sure to keep his promise never to let work consume him the way it had before Felicity. They had dinner together most nights, took long weekends at the beach house, and made their relationship a priority. A year and a half after their wedding, Felicity realized she was late. She took 3 pregnancy tests before she believed the results, then spent an entire day planning how to tell Warren. She finally settled on the simplest approach, waiting until he got home from work and handing him a gift bag. "What is this?" he asked, looking confused. "It is not my birthday." "Just open it," she said, unable to keep the smile off her face. He pulled out the tissue paper, then froze when he saw what was inside. A tiny pair of baby shoes in soft gray leather, and underneath them, a positive pregnancy test. Warren looked up at her, his eyes wide with shock and joy. "Are you serious? We are having a baby. We are having a baby," she confirmed, and then she was in his arms, both of them laughing and crying at the same time. The pregnancy was not easy. Felicity had terrible morning sickness for the first 4 months, and Warren hovered anxiously, trying to help in ways that were sometimes more annoying than useful. But he also rubbed her feet when they swelled, held her hair when she was sick, and talked to her growing belly every night, telling their baby about the life they were preparing for them. They found out they were having a boy, and Warren cried in the ultrasound room, staring at the screen like it held all the secrets of the universe. They painted the nursery in shades of green and cream, and Felicity designed every detail, from the custom crib to the reading nook in the corner. "He is going to be so loved," Warren said one night as they stood in the finished nursery. "So wanted. He will never doubt for a moment that he belongs." Felicity knew he was thinking about her childhood, about all the homes where she had never quite fit. She leaned against him, her hand on her belly. "Because you are going to be an amazing father," she said. "And we are going to give him the kind of home I always dreamed about, stable, safe, full of love." Their son, William, named after Warren's grandfather and with a middle name of Patrick for Mrs. Patterson, was born on a sunny morning in May. Labor was long and difficult, and Warren refused to leave her side, holding her hand, breathing with her, telling her she was strong and brave and doing an incredible job. When William finally arrived, screaming and perfect, Warren cut the cord with shaking hands. The nurse placed the baby on Felicity's chest, and she looked down at the tiny, wrinkled face and felt her entire world shift. Warren wrapped his arms around both of them, his face wet with tears. "We made him," he whispered. "Look at what we made." "He is perfect," Felicity said. "Absolutely perfect." Those first few months were exhausting. William was a terrible sleeper, and they took turns walking him around the apartment at 3 in the morning. Felicity struggled with breastfeeding. Warren learned how to change diapers with impressive speed, and they both survived on very little sleep and a lot of coffee. But there were also moments of pure magic. The first time William smiled at them, the first time he laughed, the way he would calm instantly when Warren sang to him in his deep, off-key voice. Watching Warren hold their son, this big, powerful man so gentle with the tiny baby, made Felicity fall in love with him all over again. When William was 6 months old, they took him to the beach house for the first time. Warren carried him down to the water's edge, letting the baby's feet touch the ocean for the first time. William kicked and squealed with delight, and Felicity captured it on her phone, tears streaming down her face. "I never thought I could be this happy," she said to Warren later, while William napped between them on a blanket on the deck. "I never thought I deserved this kind of life." "You deserve everything," Warren said firmly, "and I am going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know it." As William grew, they grew with him. Warren cut back his hours at work, wanting to be present for all the important moments. Felicity hired a studio manager so she could work from home more often. They became experts at tag teaming, at communicating without words, at being partners in the truest sense. Clara was William's favorite aunt, spoiling him with expensive toys, and showing up unannounced to babysit so Warren and Felicity could have date nights. Mrs. Patterson visited often, teaching William to finger paint and telling Felicity what a wonderful mother she had become. Warren's parents were devoted grandparents, and Felicity watched her father-in-law soften in ways she never expected, playing peekaboo on the floor with his grandson. When William was 2, they started talking about having another baby. This time, the pregnancy happened faster, and they welcomed a daughter, Grace, named after Warren's grandmother. She had Felicity's hazel eyes and Warren's dark hair, and she was the calmest baby Felicity had ever seen, content to observe the world with quiet fascination. William was fascinated by his baby sister, insisting on helping with everything from diaper changes to feedings. Warren took a month off work when Grace was born, and they spent it cocooned in their home, learning to be a family of 4. Life was chaotic and messy and perfect. Their penthouse was always filled with toys and noise and laughter. The beach house became their retreat, where they spent long summers building sandcastles and teaching the children to swim. Felicity's business thrived, and she became known for designs that felt like home, warm and welcoming and full of personality. Warren's company went public, making him even wealthier, but he stayed grounded, always remembering where he came from and making sure to give back. They taught their children about their different backgrounds, about how Felicity had grown up with nothing and Warren had grown up with everything, and how both experiences had shaped them. They taught William and Grace about resilience and gratitude, about working hard and being kind, about the importance of family, whether it was born or chosen. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Warren recreated their first date at the small cafe where they had talked for 3 hours. The children were with Clara for the night, and it was just the two of them, sitting in the same mismatched chairs, drinking coffee and talking. "You remember what I thought that first day I saw you at the cafe?" Warren asked. "That I would be the perfect fake girlfriend," Felicity teased. "That you were the most real person I had ever seen," Warren corrected. "Everyone in my world was always performing, always trying to impress or manipulate or get something from me. But you were just yourself, kind and genuine and full of light. I knew I had to know you, even if I had to make up a ridiculous scheme to do it." "Best ridiculous scheme ever," Felicity said. "Though I should probably be upset that you manipulated me." "Are you?" Warren asked with a smile. "Not even a little bit." She reached across the table and took his hand. "That night changed my life. You changed my life. You gave me a home, a family, a love I never thought I would have. You made me believe I deserved good things." "You always deserved good things," Warren said. "I just feel lucky I got to be the one to give them to you." They went home and made love like they did on their honeymoon, still as passionate and connected as they had been in the beginning, but with the depth that came from years of partnership, of weathering storms together, of choosing each other every single day. As the years passed, they watched their children grow. William became interested in sustainable engineering, following in his father's footsteps, but with his own unique perspective. Grace showed a talent for art and design, and Felicity spent hours teaching her about color theory and spatial relationships. They were good kids, kind and curious and loved, and Felicity looked at them sometimes and marveled that they were hers. Warren's hair started graying at the temples, and Felicity found she liked it. She found a few gray hairs of her own and decided to embrace them rather than dye them away. They both moved a little slower than they used to, but they still danced in the kitchen when their song came on, still stole kisses when the children were not looking, still fell asleep, tangled together. On their 20th anniversary, they renewed their vows on the same beach where they had married, with William and Grace standing beside them. Their families had grown over the years with marriages and births, and the beach was crowded with people they loved. When Warren said his vows this time, his voice was steady and sure, full of the certainty that came from 2 decades of loving someone through everything life threw at them. 20 years ago, I pretended to need you for one night," he said. "But the truth is, I have needed you every day since. You are my heart, my home, my reason for everything. I love you more today than I did then, and I will love you more tomorrow than I do today. Thank you for choosing me, for building this life with me, for loving me even when I am difficult and stubborn. You are the best decision I ever made." Felicity was crying too hard to say her vows, so she just kissed him instead, and everyone cheered. Later, dancing with him under the stars, she whispered, "I would do it all again. The fake dating, the fighting, all of it, because it led me here. To you, to our life, to everything we built together." "Me too," Warren whispered back. "Every single moment. You are my greatest adventure, Felicity Oakes." Years later, when they were older and their children had children of their own, they still went to the beach house every summer. They still held hands during walks, still laughed at inside jokes no one else understood, still looked at each other with the kind of love that made their grandchildren believe in romance. One evening, sitting on their deck watching the sunset, their grandchildren playing in the sand below, Felicity thought about that night so long ago when she had agreed to pretend to be a billionaire's girlfriend for $5,000. She thought about how terrified she had been, how sure that she was out of her league. She thought about all the moments that had followed, the fake date that felt real, the confession on the balcony, the fights and makeups, the proposal and the wedding, the births of their children, all the ordinary and extraordinary moments that had made up their life together. "What are you thinking about?" Warren asked, his arm around her shoulders, still fitting perfectly after all these years. "About how the best things in life come from taking chances," Felicity said. "About how one fake date led to all of this. About how grateful I am that I said yes when a stranger asked me to pretend to be his girlfriend." Warren smiled, that slow, genuine smile that still made her heart skip. "Best $5,000 I ever spent. You never paid me, you know," Felicity said, laughing. "We went on that real date before you could give me the money, and then it seemed weird to take it." "I will write you a check right now if you want," Warren offered. "Too late," she said. "I will accept payment in the form of continued love and devotion for the rest of our lives." "Done," Warren said, kissing her temple. "Easiest deal I ever made." They sat together as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, surrounded by the family they had built, the life they had created, the love that had started with pretend and had become the most real thing either of them had ever known. Felicity thought about the scared girl she had been, standing in her bathroom applying mascara with shaking hands, and she wished she could go back and tell her that everything was going to be okay. Better than okay. Perfect in all the ways that mattered. Because sometimes the best love stories started with a lie that became the truth, with a fake date that turned into forever, with two people who took a chance on pretending and ended up finding everything real.